So, welcome one and all to another episode of Solutionaries here on Regen Media TV. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. Glad to be here. It's an amazing Sunday, September 7th, full moon in Pisces. So, we have a lot of the fish pod energy right now, a lot of the Piscean feeling into what our next chapter could be, both as individuals and as communities, and also on a planetary level. So today I'm really happy and honored to bring this podcast to you, not just for showcasing amazing people doing amazing things based on solutions for people and planet, but also as the exciting announcement of months of work of myself being in Los Angeles area and meeting other people who led me to meeting one of our presenters today, Scott, who is doing an incredible project, which is germinating quickly. And we have his core team for his nonprofit, Palisades Dolphin Strong, here because we are about to embark on the mission of putting our superpowers together in support of people and planet, and more specifically for victims of the recent Palisades fire. So, without any further ado, it's with great honor to be here to introduce Scott Berger from Palisades Dolphin Strong. So, welcome, Scott.
Thank you so much, Michael, and really honored to be here as well with the team, or as we call ourselves, the Pod. So it's great to be on a podcast. It comes from the dolphin, which is our mascot from our Palisades High School. So yeah, really excited and um, of course a little bit nervous, being on camera and all, but I'm sure we can get through this and get to the core of what our mission is, Palisades Dolphin Strong, and what we're doing, how we came together. Real briefly, I grew up in the Palisades, starting from age 13, coming from the East Coast, and was very fortunate to land in Pacific Palisades, a very unique community. So that's a lot of uh, where my sense of connection and community were shaped through businesses like Jerry Blank's Martial Arts Center, which I've been involved with for the past 42 years, the Amazing Music Store, places like Mort's Deli, which was a culinary institution in our small village. Palisades is relatively small community, tight knit. So when the fires hit on January 7th, after about 2 or 3 days of shock and tears, I started to make some phone calls. And one of the first people that I spoke to was Larry Goldberg, and he's one of our co-founders, along with Amanda Barnett and Shannon Vergun, who came in a little bit later, but has been a part of the community for most of her life as well. Uh, Obviously, the devastation in the community was just shocking. And so we felt that we had to do something. We didn't know what that something was going to be. We didn't know how or what we were going to do. We just knew why we really were motivated to do something. So that's how the conversation got started. And then quickly figured out that we wanted to create an organization. We were very fortunate to get our nonprofit status in about 3.5 weeks after applying for that. So that helped us organize and become legitimate in many people's eyes as well. Our main emphasis is supporting individuals and small businesses by connecting them with the trusted resources, the guidance, and the community strength of unity. So that was really the idea behind it, and we've been busy doing just that, reaching out to organizations, individuals, and businesses, along with some of the government agencies, the city of LA and others. So that's the main thing, how we started, and I'm very happy to have the core four of us here today on this podcast. So I'm going to pass it over to Amanda Barnett, and she can fill us in a little bit more of her story and how we're all connected.
Sure. Hi, and thank you so much for inviting us in. I'm Amanda Barnett. I think my story will have elements of probably every resident that's ever lived in Pacific Palisades, because there is something very magical and not to be broken kind of connection that people have who come from there. So we moved in 1970 from the San Fernando Valley over to the Palisades. I'd come home from elementary school and said that my lungs hurt when I took a deep breath. And my mother said the next day they were looking for a new place to live. So they ended up on the west side in Pacific Palisades and found a lovely home, which we all wish we could get back into. But it was a magical experience. And in fourth grade, I met Shannon Vergun. I was enamored with her beauty and her ability to handwrite really well and her ability to paint and all those things. Her creative spirit really drew me in. And so we've spent a lifetime together. And she's my ride or die. And I feel incredibly blessed. One of the many blessings that come from my life in the Palisades. In junior high school, I had a choir teacher who introduced me to Stacy Byrne. And Stacy Byrne has been my singing partner now since we were 14 years old. And we have continued to sing this entire time of our lives. And hoping to bring her in as one of our creatives as we move forward in these events. Also, her mother was the fifth grade teacher at Palisades Elementary, and my brother took from her. So it's all connected. Also at Mort's Deli, Mort hired Stacy and I to sing in his delicatessen, and his wife thought we were doing it for sandwiches and tips, but Mort would take us in the back and give us a bunch of money. He said, "Don't tell my wife." It was really wonderful. I also had the blessing to work with Jerry Blank in his dojo and learned karate from him. So that was amazing. Then in high school, had the very famous band Bunny and the Hot Rocks, which played all the high school concerts and the weekend parties. And it also was at that point that I became very involved with the Amazing Music Store. Although I'd been taking lessons all my life, that was really where it escalated. And from there, I met people and we formed a group and we went on the road with some fairly well-known folks. And one of the things that happened in that tour is I needed a drummer and a bass player, and I hired Larry. So that's how Larry comes in full circle to all of this. And so when they reached out to me and said, "Would you like to be a part of this, especially the wellness and spiritual side," my heart sang, and I was didn't even hesitate to say yes, thank you. I have been a therapist now in private practice for the last 20 years, therapist for about the last 35 years, doing a lot of work in spiritual education and introduction, and just trying to make the world a little bit softer, a little bit safer, a little bit more connected in this very disconnected time. And just to end, the last time I was in the Palisades and I was standing with Shannon at the base of the steps of what used to be my home. It was very poignant and very bittersweet. And so the fact that we can all work together to build this extraordinary community back to something even more sustainable for the generations warms my heart. So I'm just blessed to be a part of this and looking forward to all that can come in our near future. And for that, I now turn it to Shannon Vergun, who can share her story. Mute, 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 mute.
I think your mic's off.
Your mic's off, Shannon.
Hello, all, and thanks so much for having me, for having us, our pod. We're very excited to be here and super energized by the momentum and by the positive energy, which fuels me. I'm definitely an eternal optimist. I was born in San Francisco, and most people would say, "Oh, I left my heart in San Francisco." But the truth is, my heart I left my heart in Pacific Palisades. My family moved from San Francisco to the Palisades, thanks to my mom, really, who was good at finding great places to live. And it was my dad who had accepted a position at USC at the School of Architecture and Structural Engineering that really firmed up that decision that we were moving. So mom put us in the Palisades. Dad went to work as an associate professor at USC, where he worked for decades. And he also opened his own firm. At this time, my best friend was Amanda Barnett. We just connected the moment we met in our 4th grade class at Palisades Elementary, Mrs. Yoshimura's class. And we're together through thick and thin. We had lots of experiences that I'd like to share, but I'm not sure it would be appropriate here. One of the things that we did is make fake IDs to be sure that we could make it into every club on Sunset Strip when Amanda would perform. When I don't know, she can correct me, but I think she was 15. So we were adventurous kids. I cemented my love for the ocean in Pacific Palisades, where I took junior lifeguards. And that really felt like a pod, actually, as I was a little kid and people were helping me out as we did our ocean relays through the breakers and did our crunches on dry sand. And ever since, I've made it a mission to go in every body of water globally, wherever I am. So let's fast forward a little to the present. I work in media and I also work in fitness. And I feel like there is so much that I can share with the community. And I am looking at, gosh, I don't know. I need a little guidance here because I'm losing it again. See, Michael?
Our heart,
No,
mind, body, and soul.
Well,
absolutely.
it's like what I wanted to also talk about was just being raised with an environmental sensibility without even knowing it. And I was also raised with a design sensibility without even knowing it. I mentioned my dad was an architect and structural engineer. He engineered some of the most amazing properties in the Los Angeles area. And working for him, not only did I hone my handwriting skills that Amanda mentioned, but I also saw some projects come to being that were just really from the ground up. I saw the soil reports. I went to the sites with them. I smelled the sawdust, and then I saw them come to be. And I'd love to see our community rebuild sustainably and rebuild in a way that is respectful of the environment. My mom worked as a high fashion model in San Francisco and then also in Los Angeles, but she was always a scientist at heart and later got her PhD in environmental science. I was able to video her controlled burns as we were both at the same university. I was in media and she was in forestry management at that time. So I really got a feeling for what fires do, how they can be good for the environment if they're controlled, and how unpredictable they are. When I saw the fire, the smoke come over the hill, I'm in the San Fernando Valley right now, I knew it was huge. And it was such an apocalyptic feeling. I know everybody wanted to do what they could to help. And unlike a long time ago, in 2005, on my birthday, when I got off of a catamaran in Hawaii, I was with the Wild Dolphin Foundation and had been swimming with the dolphins as I did every summer with this marine biologist friend. I get off of that catamaran and I hear about Hurricane Katrina. And I thought, oh my God, what a dichotomy. Here I am in paradise and these people are just in hell. And I struggled to find ways to help them. Now, with the Palisades, I'm literally over the hill from them and I can do something. When I was asked to join Palisades Dolphin Strong, it was just a thrill. And now we're working as one pod toward common goals. And uniting with other organizations in an effort not to duplicate, but to strengthen. So thank you for having me.
Beautiful.
And I will try to bring it together if I can, because everybody's done a great job. I love you guys. We say that often. Actually, I say it more to Scott than anybody because, ladies, you know I love you. Men, we need to say it to each other more. So that's just a given. But I really, truly do love you with a passion. So 1979, I mean, the story, it's amazing. I've known these girls for a very long time. And I did not know, Amanda, or I forgot that just like me, my mother said, Larry, the allergies are bad in the valley. We're going to the Palisades while your brother and your father are in Santa Monica. And here I am in the Palisades. Perfect. I meet Scott. I'm loving life, kind of a bit of a misfit, not knowing what to do in the surfer town with my down jacket, my Val Surf skateboard, my Val Surf everything. But I found the music community with Scott, working at the Hughes markets, being a box person, and wound up at the music store and just asked Mr. Hildebrand, do you mind if I wash some windows? My dad, my mother, great parents, just the same as Patrick became to be. During the most formative years of our lives, I mean, we all know the stories about whether you are righted or wronged or righted. It's because of this time in your life. And it carries forward 40 years from that date of walking in that music store, becoming a manager, then becoming a musician who went on tour with Amanda. I love to call Amanda my lead singer. She doesn't say no anymore, but she does come up to the mic and sing on occasion. I'm still a bountiful musician, but I'm also a financial services and insurance agency owner, a CEO of a corporation. I've delved many years in nonprofits with the Boys and Girls Club, working on their annual benefits to make sure they bring in their $500,000 at the Santa Monica Center, working also with Venice. So when I got the call from Scott, Larry, Patrick store burnt. That was it. We cried for like, I don't know, minutes. And then we found each other quickly over the phone, holding each other and saying, what are we going to do? Like all the digits, what are we going to do? And we just reached out. We went inside. I went to the top of the hill in Calabasas up here and I watched the helicopters make circle eights to my homeland of the Palisades to come pick up water from here. I talked to firemen who said, uh-oh, I was so entrenched in wanting to do something. I don't live there now. I did live there. My heart is there. You're all with me. I love you. I miss you. We need to do something. And here we are building resources from the broomstick, hazardous cleanup, all the way through to building your home back safely. How about the hempcrete? How about the concrete stuff with the skip or the AAC, the architecture? What about the individual design? We have basically just reached out to a platform, a resource of so many wonderful Palisadians, Palisadian friends. We are here for you. And as you can see on this board, we've never forgotten about the heart, the mind, the body, the soul, the pets, the insurance, the children, the students. They need to stay in school, and we need to get you back to the Palisades. Come with us, or not come with us. Let's go together. This is not about us trying to make something happen. It's about us trying to make everybody, if we can, come together. How about all Strongs? How about all LA somethings? How about all Dolphin? Oh, that's right. All Dolphins are together. All right. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And let's go. Let's do this.
Great.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, just to kind of preface for people who are watching this podcast, this is a literal podcast. So we might have to call it what it is.
In
You know,
pod, we trust.
there we go. There's a whole line, I think, of things coming out of this, but I just wanted to preface that we've all been in communication over the few weeks. Of course, everyone has a sense of the amount of legacy and community and connection, and really the impact that area has. Of course, creatively, but also the impact that it has on people's lives personally. I don't live there now, but I did live in Venice and Santa Monica for a while. I have many great memories going all the way up through that area. I actually just did an event in Topanga, but the idea is that right now, as kind of, let's say, we have this opportunity to regenerate, to look at what doesn't work, and what works, and kind of the idea of build back green. I think part of it is there is a lot of trauma. It is really sad how things are happening, like these wildfires, these um, climate change disasters. And again, there's different opinions of that, but what's happening to human beings, what's happening to communities, what's happening to property, what's happening to the environment. So it's very obvious without looking too far that, there's something not quite working right. So part of this podcast today is about us, between Palisades Dolphin Strong and Earthstock Foundation, forming a strategic alliance to support each other. And how we're able to do that, and exactly, you hit it right on the head, Larry, is that we're trying to extend our hands out in collaboration and cooperation, not competition. I will say, Earthstock, years ago when we first kind of formulated, I was a journalist, and it happened because um, I helped cover some of the Paradise Fire. So, I mean, what a strange paradox of words, Paradise Fire. And I saw what was happening on the ground, not only with the impact to people, but impact to the environment, what happened with the fire, what happened to the things that burned in the fire, what went on beyond just the fire itself. Of course, again, mentioning the work that Amanda does, working with people, the human trauma, the human side of a disaster, and the healing process that goes along with that. But also now the impact of whether debris has been removed or not removed, what's happening. So I first and foremost want to acknowledge Palisades Dolphin Strong for being a team player, because this is really a we moment, not a me moment, because
Yeah.
we're seeing things happening right now, things being defunded like FEMA, more and more things are changing. And I think more and more people are realizing that we all have to come together to bring solutions and co-create the communities, the kind of world that we want to live in. So it's a very traumatic time, but also it's a very pivotal time. So this call is over the last few weeks, or talking with Scott, um, probably about a month ago, about how can we support each other. So how we're doing that, Earthstock, our company, we do have dozens of really brilliant people who are consultants and contractors who do things like soil, water remediation, natural builders, microgrids, renewable energy. But that's just one thing that we're doing, because we also know about when these tragedies happen that you get the massive influx of disaster capitalism, which might not be about the human story and about people, but it's more about, profit and return of investment, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to just be transparent as we're formulating this strategic alliance and inviting others to join it in whatever you're doing, in the way of collaborating, not competing. I will say I've interviewed a lot of different people, from the Palisades Bowl, Tahitian Terrace, other people. And sadly, while people are still in trauma, there's also a lot of kind of, oh, our petition's the best, or do it this way or do it that way. So again, we talked about Palisades Dolphin Strong like a pod, how a pod does move together. So I wanted to commend you for the level of progress you've made just over the last several months since the fire. The other thing I'd like to mention, is that there's a whole story to be uncovered here. We're not going to necessarily do that today, because that'll be our next episode, about what's happening right now on the ground, about debris removal, about soil, about impact to people's health, about impact to marine life in Santa Monica Bay, what's happening, governmentally, what organizations are involved, what other organizations are involved. I've met with several of them, and at the Newmanburg Beach House, and Resilient Palisades, and other groups that are all doing great stuff. I think what really attracted me to this strategic alliance is the human element, the whole idea of Ohana, that this is about human connection. It's not about, disaster capitalism, or who's at the top of the heap and how much can be made. This is really being generated out of that spirit of compassion and community, which is so obvious in just hearing all of you talk. So I do want to get into that at our next podcast, because there is a lot to uncover. I interviewed Bonnie and Rashi, other people. There's a lot of perspectives, but more than perpetuating divisiveness, we have to continue to find common ground of how to move forward. And I think the most immediate thing, as you are doing, with PDS, is about solutions, about bringing people together. And in that process right now, again, there's still a lot of trauma, but there's a lot of different, um, let's say, skin in the game or stakeholders are coming. We know just a huge swath of Malibu was bought up by a venture capitalist. I believe they were from New Zealand or Australia. So, this is a very dynamic, sad situation that we want to kind of dig into and expose, not politically or judgmentally or pointing fingers, of what's really going on, because the same type of situation happened in Palace in the Paradise Fire. People were coming in to remediate. They didn't actually fully remediate. They scraped soil. They bulldozed materials and houses and things. But also they came in and cut all the trees, and those trees went off to market to be sold. So um, there is a lot of elements to this, but we'll cover that in our next podcast. But most importantly, that our first step of our strategic alliance is joining our superpowers October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th for the Earthstock Regenerative Summit and Festival, which will be happening in association with the City of Santa Monica Sustainability Department, Santa Monica College Sustainability Department, and many other organizations, individuals that work with not only the environment, but also that work with people. So this event, I was drawn back to LA after the fire because our whole mission with Earthstock is that we take stock in people and planet. So it's regenerative solutions for human beings and for the planet, and also education and healing our relationship to the planet. So again, we're going to dig into a lot of this stuff. It might be painful to hear, but we do want to uncover the real story that's happening, since we don't hear it on corporate media right now. But I do want to invite people. I know you guys were working in unison around the event. Palisades Dolphin Strong will be one of the beneficiaries if there is funds raised. And we're doing this video because we need to be transparent. It's very easy for anyone who pokes their head up out of the sand to try to take some level of facilitation or leadership to instantly become kind of a target for people's misperceptions or misunderstandings. So I want to emphasize in our several communications that we're going to be very transparent in what's happening, not only in our strategic alliance, but I'm here to also showcase the work that you guys are doing every day on the ground here, even outside of our initial alliance for the Earthstock Summit and Festival. If you want more information, again, earthstockfestival.com. I'm really excited about working with Larry and getting musicians involved. I'm really excited about the work Amanda does working with human beings, because there's so much to do. And Scott, I mean, all of you have amazing superpowers. So this is that moment where we bring our superpowers together and we make the changes that we need to make and bring solutions forward. So before we finish, I just want to put it back to Scott, and we can go around if anyone has any last thoughts, knowing our next episode, we're going to dig into the nuts and bolts of, what's really going on with the city, the county, FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, what's happening, refusal to return, Gavin Newsom, 2.0, LA 2.0 smart cities. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, but we are going to demystify it. And I hope you find this podcast not only inspiring spiritually and as a human to hear these human stories, but also we're going to, again, dig into some of the nuts and bolts and let you know really unbiasedly what's happening. So with that, I want to pass it back to Scott Berger.
Thank you, Michael. That really resonates, and I think that's why we were meant to connect. And we believe that the regenerative rebuilding is so important to build green, and this is going to be a lasting recovery. It's a long-term recovery. We know this is Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, but we really have a community first approach, and in that vein, we try to ask the right questions and be good listeners to the community and the residents and the businesses there, because we don't want to assume that we know everything, and we just want to continue that learning process as we go, because every day is a school day, every day is a new day. So we have that mentality and approach as we move forward. And you're right, we really want to focus on the individual, the health and wellness. And we have initiatives that we'll be putting forward that really focus on that uh, health, mental health, physical health, and of course the environmental health. So that is super important, and we're a forward facing. We have a forward facing vision for the future of the Palisades. We're trying not to focus on what happened, and there will be plenty of uh, time to pontificate of what went wrong, and we can sort of learn from those elements. But we really try to stay out of the political realm because it does polarize, and so we try to stay out of those conversations and redirect it to what can we help, what can we do now, instead of pointing fingers at uh, the possible culprits, or we're looking for solutions, not for problems. And so the way we are doing that is through ongoing community events, and those are rooted in the creative arts, such as music, dance, theater, and because they play a really a key role to inspire and restore the community spirit. And so that's how we're planning to unite, and we have been. We've had our first event July 20th at the Santa Monica Historic Club, and it went very well. And we raised a bunch of money for the amazing music store, that one of the cornerstone businesses that we talked about that was lost. But there's a lot of survivors that are in the community still that um, have not left the community but cannot come back yet because of those safety concerns. So we're concerned about all. We're concerned about the workers that are continually removing the debris and not protecting themselves with the proper PPE. So we do reach out to city and state and other governmental agencies to let them know what we see firsthand and our concerns, and we back that up by the data that is available to us, and we're learning as we go forward more of that data. So happy to have this partnership, this strategic alliance, as you call it. I know we're just in the infancy of this relationship, and every relationship takes time to develop, and as well as the resources that we have put forward on our website that we slowly vet. We don't just assume that because they're a certain type of business they can help. It does take some time to make sure that they have their priorities aligned, with the as you put it, the disaster capitalists that come in, everything from the disaster tour buses and the cleanup people and builders that come in from out of state that are just looking to make a buck. So we really try to sometimes hold the pause button there and do it in a slow, methodical way, and that takes time. Things don't happen overnight. So we have this core four in our pod, and we're building that through volunteers and other uh, organizations and individuals. So thank you again. Really appreciate this opportunity, and so I'll pass it over to Amanda. I'm sure she
Yeah, I wanted to just sort of reiterate that whether you were still living in the Palisades, whether you lived there, whether you knew someone that lived there, whether your grandparents still lived there, the outreach, the outstretched arms, this affects so many people. And trauma doesn't tell time. So if you've been through an experience like this before, it's amplified tenfold. It doesn't matter how much money you make, doesn't matter what color your skin, it doesn't matter where you came from. There is fear, vulnerability, there is disorganization in your thinking, and it's super important that that be normalized. It's super important that that be recognized, that you don't have to be a certain person. There are some who have very loud voices, and it's easy to get distracted by that. But I want to emphasize that we are here because we all are feeling hurt and vulnerable and frightened. And as you said, energized and inspired, and the desire to do right by each other, by the community, and by Mother Earth. So we're going to, I hope, focus a great deal not only on educating folks on what's out there and what's available to you and what we can do to help move your process forward, but also to make sure you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones, right? Because if you're not okay, it's like the pyramid: self, primary relationships, work, and everything else. And if you turn it upside down, it's going to fall in on itself. So we've got to make sure people are taking good care so that they can use their wise mind and feel supported and feel loved and feel nurtured. And I know we all come from that mindset, and we're going to continue to promote that in any way we can. And again, to say what you said, Scott, we are listening. We are here to hear what you need and what you're going through, and then see how we can help. So thank you. And Shannon?
Yes, I agree that it's important for people across the planet to take a breath and to just know that these times are challenging, and also to be hopeful that we're in a time when we can connect globally. And ever since I was a kid, I've wanted for people to, I envisioned troops of youth reporters all across the globe in cities and in rural communities, communicating and just telling a day in the life stories. And at this turn, I feel it's all the more important for us to keep the real stories going and to help people to find their voices. I'm excited to do that.
Yeah.
And I just feel too so fortunate that it's hard to describe the sense of connectivity that we had growing up in the Palisades. But we were at a time when we could just run around until it was dark and even after. And our parents were fine with that. So we'd be, traipsing in and out of the canyons and finding the blue belly lizards and figuring out which plants tasted better, the fennel or the flowers that tasted like lemons, and really smelling the oils of the trees. And I think that that's what is and was so intoxicating about growing up in the Palisades and just feeling that togetherness. So I'd love to recreate that and build on it. So I'm excited about that. And I'd love to use my skills in media, but also I've been working in fitness my entire life. And I have a focus on senior fitness from a science perspective. And I think we could all use some time outside with gentle movement. And wouldn't it be great if we could get back in the water again?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I got to tell you that, I mean, the bottom line, about the Ohana, I mean, that's family, right? And to think that, once again, the gentleman that we talked about who lost a music store, he is full on Ohana, and he's a ukulele man, and all he is just a blessing. He's loving, and he just does not want to ask. No matter how much he needs, he will not ask. The most humble person we have ever met. And the thing that adds to it is, what we've just found is kind of what our motto is we have the choice always to react or to respond. And when you think about a fireman or firewoman, they don't react, because if they react, you'd be like, ouch, I'm running. They respond. And response takes a little bit more thought, a little bit more wisdom. And Amanda, we love to cherish with the acknowledgement of take your time, guys. When Scott and I started this thing, and then Amanda came in, and we're listening to her and all of her great inspirations and knowledge, it's the best thing we could do is to be able to have somebody on board that helps us pull back. I might be a locomotive, Scott might be in the middle, and then there's Shannon on top of it to just all around with the social media skills. We have so much love and heart in this. And the one thing that I think we also know the dad joke about Pete and repeat went up the hill and Pete fell down. Who was left? Repeat. We cannot have a Pete and repeat situation. I mean, why do we want to? Does anybody want to do anything again? We don't want to say to anybody, why are you doing that? But if we could put the old, maybe East Coast style, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you really want to do that? I mean, if we could have a big commercial like "Let It Go, Randy," whatever that commercial is, and we can bring a lot of Palisadians there and just show the differences between what could occur and what doesn't, that'd be some great funding to bring. But I'm just talking outside the box. So we really are trying to bring the heart to the mind, to the body, and to the soul of all of this. And we as individuals, the most important thing is we are high-end professionals, if I could say this, meaning we have individual reputations that really need protection. So there's no way that we would go into this risking our individual lives, our individual families, reputations. And we are so full bore about it that sometimes the other one has to say, whoa, are you okay with this? We're going in, we're fine with this. It's such a passion. And thank you again, Amanda, Scott, Shannon. And yesterday, Michael, is it the same Bonnie? Because a Bonnie came up to us at our stand yesterday at the American Legion. I'm not going to go there with my tears, but within 10 seconds, she started crying with me. And I said, may I please hug you? Is that okay for a moment? And then I immediately went after Nicole and then after Christy. And I said, Nicole, let me find Bonnie, let me find our advisory board volunteers are of the ilk of Shannon and me and Scott and definitely Amanda. And next thing you know, she is comforted, she's calm, she's cool, she's loved, and she has a couple little trinkets from us. But we are keeping her so close to us, especially after the offering, and all we could do is offer. And last thing I could say is some say to us, why aren't you going after so and so high profile to help you? No, he's a big politician. Or why aren't you going after that big contractor? Without any ego, the best thing we could do is say, let them see us. Let them say, what's going on over there? Because if we go after stuff, it doesn't naturally and organically occur. So, Amanda, again, right? It's okay to take a little bit of time. We will find our places within the resources as we do, highly vetted. But when anybody asks us, why haven't you gone after that big champion of whatever? We'll have them come to us and say, hey, you have your ear to the ground, guys. You're probably 1,000, 2,000 out of the 11, maybe all of them. Can you just tell us out of the four of you what we need to do? As opposed to having listened to all 11,000. So we could bring all the lives together, all the strongs together. Maybe we could just represent to the higher beings that say yes or no, if that's how it works. So let's do it.
Amazing. And I just want to comment too, about some of what's been said about biomimicry. We have to follow the ancient intelligence of nature and how things organically happen. And that was really one of the things that first connected me with you through the mycelial web of meeting Diane, who knew Scott, and me being there for 5 months on the ground. So, part of this is today we're sharing the human story and the transparency between Palisades, Dolphin Strong, and Earthstock forming a strategic alliance. So very much like in a pod, maybe there's a few dolphins that start going in one direction this way, saying, hey, the great white sharks over there, let's go over to the coral reef where it's better, there's more fish or whatever. And then the pod tends to follow. So I'm a huge advocate about not trying to sell, not trying to convince, not overly pontificating, and following nature's intelligence. Because even here where I am right now in the quiet town of Crestone of 100 people in the Rockies, and my connection to that region, God, in the 80s, 40 years ago. I don't even know how that's possible. I'm only 28. I'm still trying to figure out the math. But, we're listening, we're
Can I be
responding.
27?
Oh, there. And, we're responding to what we're listening to by the collective consciousness and the voice of the community. And secondly is, I want to just say, as we're getting towards the end of this podcast, that a big part of it is, today we're being transparent about this strategic alliance. And the next podcast, we're going to dig into some of the nuts and bolts of what's really going on. And then after that, next one is like, okay, what's going on? But we have to talk about solutions, like, because time is passing. I think Shannon was saying, people can't go into the water right now. I was at 2 Santa Monica City Council meetings where there was 100 very irritated surfers, and people are like, why can't we go in the water? Why aren't you cleaning up the soil? Why aren't you cleaning up the water? So and again, since we're not being political or divisive, it's like everyone in a way is doing what their superpower or skill set is. But it comes back to all of us rolling up our sleeves and taking radical self responsibility to make the changes, bring the solutions, and live in the world that we want to live in. And part of that is not fighting against, but building bridges with civic leaders, community groups, different nonprofit organizations, and all of us coming together. I say that this is the Lord of the Rings moment, and the Tower of Sauron is going up, and all these things are happening. So, whether we're a human, a dwarf, an elf, or whatever we are archetypically, whatever our profession is, which I want to comment, you guys have an amazing skill set of therapists and music and publicists and media and insurance, and all the work that you're all doing is really parts of what we call a full spectrum regenerative ecosystem, because it does take all of those skill sets, kind of like in a company. Okay, who does this and who does that, that it has to function collaboratively. The difference is there's no hierarchy here, because we've all been brought together out of a sense of wanting to collaborate, seeing what's happening, and compassionately trying to bring solutions. So I just wanted to add that. The next one, again, we're going to get into nuts and bolts, because a lot of people still don't know what's going on. What's a refusal to return? Why isn't the debris been cleaned up? How do we clean up the debris? And we know people are anxious to move back, anxious to get their lives back, their homes back. You know, we're seeing what's happening with insurance. I mean, a lot of things, but then we want, and then one after that, we want to move into solutions, because this is kind of still we're in crisis mode with the fallout and trauma for human beings, the continued contamination of the environment, the inhalation of microparticles. And we're going to talk about things like forever chemicals and fire retardants. So it's going to get a little bit scientific, but we want people to know that there will be no fake news. We're going to give you the complete, holistic, non-biased, non-personal perspective information of what's going on right now. And then more importantly, how do we follow that up with some solutions? So I want to thank everyone for being here today. I do want to encourage everyone. At the end, I want Scott to share the website and how people get in touch with PDS. But I do want to make sure we invite people to our big collective gathering of the Earthstock Summit and Festival. That's October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The first 2 days are summits of luminaries in the field of remediation, regenerative agriculture, natural building. Like, we're bringing the solutionaries together. And then Saturday and Sunday, as Larry knows, and also Amanda knows, we're going to bring together the healers and the musicians to continue to heal and elevate the discourse and continue to build community. And if we're able to generate some net with that event, a percentage that will go to Palisades Dolphin Strong. So again, this is really, this to me is new paradigm, new design. You look at Buckminster Fuller's work, people like Barbara Marx Hubbard, full spectrum regenerative design. We all have a superpower to bring. We have to work together as councils, not hierarchies. But as Buckminster Fuller said, like, don't fight the collapsing system, just go and create a new way. And that's really the essence of kind of this Build Back Green campaign that we're doing, along with all the other organizations and all the other campaigns and all the other people that are doing amazing work. And this is just stretching out our hands to collaborate and to work together. So with that, again, I want to thank everyone for being here today, and just pass it back to Scott for any closing thoughts, or whoever, just so people can have the website, find out how to contact you. And I know you are doing some events, I think starting September 20th, which I will be back in LA for. So again, thank you, and back to Scott Berger.
Thank you, Michael. And your passion just rings through as the rest of the pod and our community is reeling from this long-term recovery effort. The fatigue is going to be real. It's already set in many regards. So we're just trying to stay in front of everybody and keep the stories in the media as best we can. So we have some events coming up. We have a weekly event that was asked by the City of LA Emergency Management Department if we could spearhead this gathering. It's just a social gathering to bring people back to the Palisades. And our kickoff date is September 20th in the afternoon. And you can find all the information of what we're doing and the resources that we have, as well as if you want to volunteer or donate to our cause, our mission, you can go on to our website at palisadesdolphinstrong.org. Very simply that. And then if you need to reach out to us, our email is on there, as well as the events calendar. So please come and join us. And just again, for the group, I wanted to thank you for what you're doing, the passion that you have, and the energy and the expertise as well that you've had experience with this, with Paradise, and some experience in Lahaina as well. So we're learning, and we look forward to working with you and learning from you and collaborating as best we can to bring these initiatives and education and just build back green, as you have put so eloquently.
And to fill in the gap, it's at the American Legion, Scotty, right? American Legion every Saturday, and we are there to host and we're going to have some food, some libations, maybe a little light music, but we're here to provide the platform of resources, and also just for us to get together. Bring your puppy. We used to say bring your dogs and cats, but I don't think cats go on a leash much. But bring your dog. You can also bring a big cake if you want and share. But we're going to be there probably every Saturday. What is it, 12 to 3:30 or something like that, Scott?
3:30 to
3:30 to
5.
5.
Thank you, guys. Just want to.
Yeah, and the American Legion is next to the post office.
Great. And I just want to finish again, the event coming, earthstockfestival.com. And I have learned a few things in this this sociocracy of coming together and collaborating, that I'm going to let either Shannon or Amanda or either or both will end poetically with the wisdom of the women here in our podcast today. So
Shan?
if any of you would like to just finish for today, that would be wonderful. We appreciate you.
Are you thinking, Shan?
I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, I will allow us just a moment where we put our hands on our heart and we send what is called the metta meditation, which is loving kindness to all living creatures. May we be safe. May we be free from suffering. May we have all that we need. May we be safe. May we be free from suffering. May we have all that we need. And one more breath in. And as you exhale, may we be safe. May we be free from suffering. And may we have all that we need.
That's a beautiful flow and a great way to end. And I'll just only interrupt it with the thought that it's a good thing to reach out to people in person if you can, or with your voice on the phone, because people are feeling so isolated. It started with COVID, and now this disaster has really been a challenge. So there's a lot to be said for just being with someone, not even doing, just being.
You
Beautiful.
ladies ground me. You ground me, and I thank you. Honestly.
Thank you. So we'll all talk soon,
Yes.
and we'll have our next episode coming up over the next week or so, and just a new paradigm, new design. It's a we moment, not a me moment. And I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you. God
Thank you.
bless. God bless. Have a great rest of your weekend, and enjoy
Thank you,
the
Michael.
full moon tonight.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank
enjoy
you.
the
Ohana.
Takes a team to realize the dream.